Welcome to Mental Health Momentum, a Silicon Slopes podcast. I'm Dr. David Morgan. I'm a licensed psychologist and the director of mental health here at Silicon Slopes. And on this podcast, we talk about mental health issues in business and beyond, and we look for solutions. I'm going to introduce my guest to you, my new friend, James Brown. Hello, James.
Hey, what's up? I'm on a mental health show.
Hey, look at
everybody thought I had mental problems, you know?
We're going to diagnose James by the end of this podcast, so don't worry. We'll get there. Let me tell you a little about him. James is an Emmy award-winning broadcast TV journalist. He is the featured host of a national TV program, Living and Aging with Pride. He had worked as a reporter at ABC4 Utah for 9 years and was a host and producer for 13 years at KUED. James has worked across multiple independent and major network outlets. He has also played a key role in the development and management of Salt and Pepper Marketing, a full-services advertising and marketing agency, in addition to Salt Lake City Studios, located in Salt Lake City, Utah, where he served as founder and president. As a host, writer, and producer, James has been the driving force behind several innovative and engaging national and international programs, as well as being a featured voice on TV and radio. His distinctive ability to create innovative properties is carried forward through the national launch of Living and Aging with Pride. Living and Aging with Pride is bolstered by his proven ability to create and manage multimedia platform content for a diverse and inclusive global audience. James has long been a community advocate and championed equality and diversity. Well, and James and I met, 4 or 5 months ago at a town hall here at Slopes. And I loved what you said in your presentation. I said, I got to have this guy on the podcast. and we've had some good conversations, even just in the little bit before we started recording today. So welcome. Thank you for being here.
This is a great guy, ladies and gentlemen. Let me tell you, you can only do this if you're a great guy. And that's what he is. That's what I'm talking about.
Well, that's my diagnosis. We'll get to yours later. So Well, and it's interesting, just even as we were talking before, and we were talking about mental health.
Right.
And do you mind if I share your age with these people, or you want to tell them?
You can tell them.
Okay. It's 81. James is 81. And so we're talking, so you're about a generation older than I am. My dad is your age. Okay. But you and I were talking about just the differences in mental health growing up in those generations, and how it wasn't really talked about, and now it's perceived differently. So so you've seen this whole thing from, being little and just getting through it, and all of a sudden here you are now, advocating for, the elderly population that are experiencing mental health issues. What are you seeing? What are the differences?
I think the difference in now and then we talked to each other because we were still discovering ourselves, and we were discovering the world around us, and we were exploring life in the way we should. What is that? Who is that? Why is that? And what is that? So we could get involved. So I think what we suffer from now is a lack of communication. We don't tell people any longer, oh, I don't feel that good in the morning. We have to say, I feel good, or we don't say anything.
Right.
So I think the lack of communication has prevented us from understanding the stress and the pressures that happen to us that call this mental vagrancy, that we face. And I think it's an epidemic now because it's not treated. And how do we treat these things? I think we talk to each other, we confer, we communicate, we let people know that we see them, we feel them, we understand them. And that's what we've stopped doing, and that's kind of what my task is, especially with older adults, because they've gotten to a stage in their lives where they're forgotten. They're told to go sit or go retire, and none of that is beneficial to them unless it's fitness and exercise and nutrition and those kinds of things.
I love that you talk about communication, and you say that we're not communicating. Why do you think? Any ideas as to why we're not doing that as effectively anymore?
I think it's the system. We've relied so much on this technology, the wizardry of technology. We've relied on other things to tell us things, to pass on messages, to educate us, to stimulate us, and that's not where it starts. It starts with us. It starts between us. And if we start engaging each other in the conversation of life, we find the road and the pathway to get to a better life. So when we look to the phone or the computer,
as it's sitting right here,
for all of our guidance and all of our direction, we don't bring in that emotional, that passion, that compassion that we need to have to function as a healthy male or female.
I think it'll be interesting, and we were discussing this earlier, how like my children's generation, I think, got caught a little bit off guard that all of a sudden we had these new gadgets like we'd never had before, things like this, like computers you could hold in the palm of your hand, and all this information that was available to us. And they got kind of caught in just that tide that came through, that rushing river of information that came there. And some of my children who are older and have children of their own are saying, I want to do it differently with my kids. I want them to have different experiences. So yeah, I'm very curious, just, 20 years down the road, what the landscape's going to look like, because I think you're right. I mean, for thousands and thousands of years, we've communicated, and in certain ways and in healthy ways. And now we're finding ourselves in kind of this strange space where we're having a hard time doing that. I think as human beings, we'll probably find our way. I think we'll find our way, but we got to look for it.
I think we're hoping for that. But what I find with all of this high-tech gadgetry is that it doesn't allow for us to ask questions. And that's where we fall short. I mean, everything is not as clear as it is being said, but we have to live with whatever that machine tells us. We live with it. But if you tell me something, I can question, well, how do you know that?
Right.
Why is that? And we have not yet figured out in our systems how to get that feedback. AI will say, oh, you'll have to check somewhere else for that, But when we talk to one another, we ask the question, well, how did you get this old?
Sure.
I exercised, I stayed fit, had a good time in life, all of those kinds of things. So if we stop talking, I think conversation is the key to appeasing all of those non-issue issues.
I think so. I think communication and just that interaction with one another is critical.
Right.
So living and aging with pride, I want to talk about this because I love this.
Right.
Was this your idea, or is this something you just got involved with? Tell me about that.
It actually is my idea. I got divorced, and I lost everything. Everything went up in smoke, and I went, oh, my goodness. So I moved out of the house that I had raised our children in and got another house. And one day the landlord came to me. He says, James, I've got to raise your rent. And I said, okay. And he raised my rent from $1,000 to $2,500. And I said, okay, I've got to find a new place. Living on a fixed income.
Yeah.
And there I was when I had a friend who owned a condominium. He says, I'll give you a place in this condo. You can stay here. I says, cool. I get to the condo, and there's a number of seniors walking around, but no one seemed to be happy. And I tend to keep a smile on my face and try to engage people. And I'm going, what's happening here? And they were angry. They were upset. And I thought, wow, this is crazy stuff. Seniors are upset. Why are they upset? Well, first of all, they've forgotten. Instead of sitting on the porch, they'd want them to sit somewhere in the closet, or they want to send them to some place that costs $25,000 and $10,000 and $15,000 a month,
right.
And they call it a wonderful community. I said, well, can I have the wonderful community without giving you $15,000 a month? Oh, James, that's not reality. So we've taken away all of the things that they've contributed to this society, to our commitment to having a better life, to end up in a sour patch of life. And so I thought, well, I know a few people. Let me call. So I called the governor's office. Hey, Governor, I'm going to do a podcast. How about coming down? Okay. So I get the governor, I get the mayors, and I get all of these people, and I go, I'm a senior and you're a senior. What are we doing? Oh, we're going to do some great things for seniors. It's like, what is that?
Right.
And nobody could explain
No
it
answer.
to me. Don't worry about it. We're going to do better.
That's right.
We're going to make affordable housing.
Yeah.
Well, what's affordable housing?
Right.
When the developer is forced to find a way to bring in new materials because there's not enough of the materials that everybody used, because every building looks the same. So they're all using the same material, so there are no more materials. So it's just a lot of things that I thought needed to be addressed. And I thought Living and Aging with Pride is a good title. It really talks about all of it. And I am so sick of this cultural divide. Ooh, that's a black person. That's a white person. I went, wow, no kidding. You know. So what does that mean? So I tell people, go to the hospital, just stand in the lobby and tell me what you see. And you will see every culture on the planet come through, and they all got canes, wheelchairs, rockers, or whatever. We all face the same thing. I asked my doctor, when you cut me open, do I look different inside like I look outside? He says, why would you ask that? I just want to know what the difference is. He said, there is no difference.
That's right.
And so we need to focus on how we create a unique community that caters to communication, and that's what I'm hoping to do with Living and Aging with Pride, because we've left and lost the pioneers of our society, and that's the seniors. They've come through more than most people face in a lifetime.
True.
And they have such a level of wisdom and knowledge and understand because they was here as the country was being developed. So they see the things, they know the things. And I think we need to get back to that. I think we need to rely upon that as the pillar of our foundation to make us better human beings. And that's what Living and Aging with Pride is all about.
I love that. And I think that I love what you're talking about, how we tend to accentuate the differences.
Yeah.
Right. And that's what we focus on. And I think it's absurd because the things that make us similar are far more prevalent than the things that make us different. I remember many years ago, I had the opportunity to be in Mexico for a while. And when I was in high school, I lived it was a pretty diverse area, and there was a lot of different nationalities at my high school, and everyone kind of kept to themselves. Right. The white people with the white people, the black people with the black people, the Mexicans with the Mexicans, and all that. And so I had experience with Mexican people, but it was very superficial,
right?
Because they kind of did their own thing, and I was in the band, and so I was with the band people and stuff. Right. And when I got to Mexico, the thing that shocked me the most was that how unique everybody was. And I remember meeting people, and I was like, well, this is just like my friend Sally.
Right.
She's just a Mexican version of my friend Sally. She had all the same personality and everything. And I saw all the things. There were funny ones and there were sour ones and all that. And I learned very quickly that the things that made us different were so small. I mean, maybe a slightly darker skin color with the Mexican population, and they spoke a different language. And that was it. Because otherwise, they were exactly the same as I was and all my friends back there. And I think too often we try to focus so much, and we do the same thing with age as well.
Absolutely.
We think, oh, seniors, well, they're just different. And they're just the same. They're just the same as us. And if we took the time to communicate, we'd probably figure that out.
Hey, we have to learn to get along again. And that doesn't mean you're fighting with each other. Right. It just means that we're going to help each other walk through. As I was growing up, we'd see a senior walking across the street, and we would say, can I help you with something? And we'd take their bags, and we'd help them across the street. You don't see those kinds of things. I still say yes, ma'am, and no, sir, to older adults. And they look at me, and they go, well, how old are you? I said, you don't want to know. But we need to do those things. So what I'm trying to do with Living and Aging with Pride is to reinstill the pride and the integrity of our lives, that how important it is. You can't turn around and tell your children you want them to be better people if you're not being a better person.
That's true.
And so we got up in the morning, we had a chore. We had to make that bed. You had to wash the dishes. You had to help mom prepare the dinner and clean up the house. That was your task. Before you went to school, you had to do all of these
things. This was all before school, by the way.
Exactly. Yeah. And then come home, and as soon as you come home, you had to do your homework.
That's right.
It was just part of the regimen of being alive. We need those things back in our country and in our people.
Well, and like you said, this returning to pride and to kind of that self, just a self-love, I guess. You're saying that that needs to happen in both parts of the population, not just in the younger ones and kind of learning these values, but in the older ones as well, right?
Absolutely.
They need to figure out what they're about and recognize their value. Because like you said, society, and I agree in large part, that's one of the things I like least about United States society is the way we treat our elderly population. Because you go to other nations and they're revered.
Exactly.
And we don't do that as much here.
Exactly.
And I think that's a misstep on our part. And so as we treat them that way, then they start to feel like second-class citizens. But you're saying you're not a second-class citizen, and you got to start believing that you're not a second-class citizen and do something about it.
And if anything affects mental health, is isolation, separation.
So true.
And we have to learn that people are nourished by their interaction to things, where they eat, how they eat, where they go, how they play, where they study. All of those things cause for interaction, and we separate from that. These machines have caused us to be something else by ourselves. Oh, I don't have to do anything. I don't even have to think anymore because I've got
That's
something
true.
that
That's
will
true.
think for me. And they don't understand it's not what comes out of the thought. It's the fact that you are thinking that generates a better emotional, sensitive, intellectual process.
Yep.
You know, so you don't have to worry about if you know how to read the encyclopedia. It's just that you keep sending those neurons and get rid of the morons, you know, because they're roaming around there too, you know.
You're making me a little afraid to look at my machine here, but
Well, it's okay.
This podcast is brought to you by this villain right here.
Yeah.
One of the things as well with Living Aging with Pride is helping these people get access to resources.
Right.
Right. So what do you do? How do you facilitate that?
Well, one of the things I find out what's available. And when I find out what's available, I find out how they're getting the message out to the public of its availability. And also, I look at what's the content of that availability. I mean, how many of us have gone to Social Security and had not a clue what to say or what to ask to find out about something? So we have to teach the public, we have to teach the people to understand, to address what they need so that they can have a conversation with that. I was at an aging community service, and I walked in with a camera crew, and I said, "Can you tell me what happens here?" And the lady said to me at the front desk, "Let me get someone that can help you." And I said to her, "Big mistake. You're the first person I have contact
That's
with.
right.
You should be able to tell me what's going on behind this table." And she said, "Well, they didn't tell me that." I said, "That's their problem." You know, I meet with doctors and specialists, and they're all in a room, and they're gathered around the table, and they're talking about all these inventive and new concepts. And I'm going, "Who is this for?" And they go, "For the patients and the public." I said, "Well, why aren't you talking to them and telling them about this?" And they go, "Well, what do you mean?" I said, "Every meeting I come to is nothing but experts in the room who says they want to get out and talk to the people to help the people, but you're never talking to the people. The first thing when I walk into my doctor's office, they say, 'You have your medical ID?' And I go, 'Don't you want to know my name?' And they go, 'We know who you are.' I say, 'How do you know?' You know, and then they ask me, 'Do you know why you're here today?' I said, 'No. Do you know why I'm here today?' Because those conversations are lost. The doctor tells me, my doctor says I've got apalapalimonina. And I go, 'What the heck is that?' You know? And he says, 'Don't worry about it. Take this pill. I'll see you in 6 weeks.'
Yeah.
And I'm going, this is crazy stuff. Talk to me. Tell me what I'm facing because I'm traumatized because I got something wrong with me. And we know that when I reach a certain age, I'm going to be faced with a host of problems. My knees, my back, my ankles, everything is tired. It's like a car.
Mm-hmm.
You can run it for a while. It breaks down soon, you know, and that's what the body does.
Yeah.
That's what the mind does.
That's right.
So we have to nourish the mind. We have to engage people, and it'll help minimize mental health issues because it's a lack of activity in most cases. On the other side of it is the nutritional value. It's what are you eating? What are you doing besides exercising your mind? And that's a question. I take a can of vegetables. I take a fresh vegetable. I set it on the counter, and I leave it for 6 days. The fresh vegetable is all withered up. Looks like, it ain't fresh no more. The canned vegetables are just sitting there going, when you going to eat me?
That's right.
So what did they put in that can to make the fresh vegetables stay looking fresh? That's the problem.
Sure. Yeah.
And we have to examine these things. Do we want immediate access to food, or do we want to grow great food and make it accessible and available to everybody?
Right. I mean, that's on us as the consumer.
Yeah.
Like you and I were talking about that earlier. You know, the people are trying to sell us stuff, and they sell what we buy. And if we stop buying it, they will immediately stop selling it, and they'll figure out something different to sell.
Exactly.
And I think that's that personal responsibility that you were kind of talking about earlier with individuals. It's like they got to decide what they're going to do with their lives to improve their situation. And that's living and aging with pride. I think it's almost like a dual sort of thing. Part of it is, look, here's the information. Here, we're going to help you find resources. We're going to help you get connected. But you got to do something about this.
Right.
We can't drag you along. We can't read the book for you, read the materials for you. You're going to have to do something about this. And when people take action, that's when change happens.
Right.
Every single time. But we've become a very inactive society. Like you said, we want to be fed things all the time.
That's the nature of our system. We've, for so long, built our foundation on being told what to do.
Yeah, yeah.
The advertising market, all of that. Everything tells us what to do. You know, and for me, living is living. What does that mean to live? It's everything you see living, it's got movement, activity. That's what living is. With pride means you have to honor and respect yourself. You have to respect the communities in which you're involved in. It's like I was telling you earlier, people go, "You live up with those Mormons?" And I go, "Yeah." This is, "How do they treat you?" I say, "Well, they beat me up once a week, and then I'm good for the rest of the week. How's that?" And they go, "You're kidding." I
Isn't that funny that they believe you, right?
I'm going, why would I live in a place that wasn't good to me? It's a great place. It's a great community, you know, and the world is made up of all the Catholics, Baptists, Mormons, everything. And so what are you going to do? Just because you get into a community that may be specific to a particular group, think that they're different? We're all the same.
That's so true.
You know, and we have to get that.
That's so true. And again, it's that same thing, right? In that situation, making a general assumption about a group of individuals.
Right.
To be honest, it's lazy. It's lazy because we haven't taken the time to go and investigate that particular group and talk to them, find out what they're about, and guaranteed, no matter what, like I've never been to South Korea, but I can promise you, if I went to South Korea, I'd have the exact same experience I had in Mexico, where I'd be like, oh my goodness, these people are all different. They're all just like me, you know, and they talk a little different. Maybe the food they eat's a little bit different, but generally speaking, we are the same as human beings. And I don't know why we have such a hard time figuring that out, but
because we have mental health problems.
I guess that's my job, right? Is to fix that. Yeah.
Straighten up, clean up the act.
Yeah,
you know
quit doing these podcasts. Get out there and do some work, doctor. Yeah.
You know, we got to get the podcast out to all the people and let them know you have a mental problem, and yet we're going to still talk to you.
That's right.
And that's the way it goes.
Well, and that's the change, I think, right? That you and I have both seen just over, you know, now a lifetime of observation.
Right.
And I think it's good. I think we're at the point where we can say, you know what? It's okay to have a problem. We can acknowledge the problem, and we're going to do something about it. And maybe that's where it comes together, because I think previous generations were very good at doing things about it.
Exactly.
But not great at acknowledging things sometimes, you know. Let's just sweep it under the rug. Let's not talk about that. And now we've got a generation that's very good about acknowledging things and not so good about doing things about it, you know. That they're struggling to do that. So maybe that's why we need that communication among the generations to say, let me show you how to acknowledge, and I'll show you how to do something about it. And when we do that together, I think that's when we're going to find solutions.
I think if you talk to seniors and you say, how has your life been? And they'll smile, because they'll think about their children, their grandchildren, their moms and their pops. And it was great years. They had great experiences. And when they think about now, they go, oh. So when we talk about making America better, we're making people's lives better. Let's move it off of America. Let's move it into people.
Yes.
Because if we make people's lives better, the world, the country, the city, the state will all be better, because people will understand what to do, how to do it, and how to deal with one another. You know, we all don't have to like corn. It's okay.
Yes.
Quit eating those corn chips, too. It's all a good thing. But I think you're on the right page to attach and attack the issue of mental health.
Yeah.
Because if we start that conversation, it doesn't need a therapist. You can handle it yourself if you know things you need to be doing, and that's engaging with your family. You don't have to go out into the public. You've got mothers and fathers and children and wives or ex-wives and all of that stuff. Talk with them.
Yeah.
Talk to them about how you feel, and not why you feel that way, but how you feel.
Sure.
And then I think we can correct a lot of things and nourish our minds and our bodies, and that's what's important. I
totally agree. James, this has been a delightful conversation for me. Thank you so much for coming in, sharing your wisdom and your insights. I love it. Thank you so much for coming to
God bless you. Thank you for inviting me down. I'll put on my GPS when I leave to figure out how to get back.
Watch out for the villain here. Yeah, the computer.
Exactly. But by the way, when they tell you pay attention to the road in your car, but every car's got all these video screens up now, and they go, pay attention to the road. I'm going, okay, where's the road?
That's right. I'll text you to make sure you made it home okay.
You got it, my friend. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And thanks everyone for listening today. Remember that change starts with you, and together we can increase our mental health momentum.